Okay. So now
There it is. There's the list.
we can officially start
It's not even that
talking
many bosses,
about Bloodborne bosses.
which I am greatly qualified to do, given that I have not played this game in years.
I think should we go in the order of when you fight the bosses
That would make sense to me.
around it? If that's the case, where's Cleric Beast?
Is he number 3 there?
You're right, he is number 3 there. Um, let's do that then. Okay, so
Clerical Beast.
Clerical Beast as a first for a first boss. You walk in, you're walking along the bridge, you've been exploring, you're tired. You've just fought through so much stuff, and then you're walking across this bridge and you see an open area, you think you're safe, and then all of a sudden Cleric Beast comes down from the sky. Such a cool entrance, great music.
I was just gonna say it does have great music too.
Very good music.
As a
Um,
first boss, I do quite like Cleric Beast.
I do too. I think it's a
I think
great.
when I think first bosses in the series, like what Dark Souls 1 was Taros Demon technically.
I
I mean,
mean,
unless we
yeah.
count a
Well,
Silent
it's
Demon.
yeah.
Dark Souls 2,
Not really. I mean, it's giant. It's lost. What is it? Lost
yeah,
giant or something?
technically Lost Giant, or like Dragon Red or something. I
Dark
think
Souls
Cleric
3
Beast might
is
be the
Gundyr.
best first boss in the series.
I think Gundyr's better, but I
Uh,
think
well, I no, I actually compared to first Gundyr, I like Cleric Beast better.
really, fair enough.
I don't like first Gundyr's second
It's
phase
fine.
where he goes all
I agree.
scrambled.
I do agree with that. Although I think Cleric Beast is too big. It's a
He's
the
big.
arena. The arena is a bridge, which is
Do
always
not
tough.
lock on to him.
Exactly.
Remember, I got
It's
real mad about
it's
that
hard.
in my first playthrough.
Yeah, it's hard to see everything, and you're on a tight bridge. I think the arena doesn't quite suit it right, and the size of him can be a little
Nice
annoying.
looking arena though.
Very nice looking arena. Don't get me wrong. I think he has the music, the um, the intro, the ambiance is right on point. I think the fight is pretty good. I think the only thing holding him back is that arena, and that he's too big for it as well, where you can't quite see everything. And I want to say he's a B.
I would agree.
Okay. Next boss is Gearman, which I already know the right area to put him because first of all, intro, so cool. I love the way he's introduced and the lore behind it too.
There's a
Is
lot of cool stuff going on with Gearman, and he does fit into my stupid evaluation of being an encounter more than a boss fight, where like there's a lot of different ways to approach it, and he does a lot of unique stuff.
describe what you mean by encounter though. I need to.
Well, it's like a lot of bosses, especially in the later Souls games, have a similar game plan going in. Whereas like even if they have some unique mechanics, it's like mostly testing reaction time, mostly trying to get good dodges in there, not greedy. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you go in with a similar strategy to a lot of these bosses.
Yep.
Whereas like when you add in dumb gimmicks like the music box or like the arena filled with the gravestones that you can get them stuck on, it kind of makes them stand out a little more.
Okay. I like it. Okay, I can get it. I think. Well, I do agree. His arena is really cool. I don't know if I entirely agree. I think I don't quite align with the encounter mindset because for me, I'm like the gravestones can be more of a nuisance than a.
Yes, I do believe we will diverge quite heavily on this when we come to a certain boss.
I actually don't know which boss it is, but
Oh,
I'm
I
assuming
think you know.
I. I'm gonna wait, but um, I think he's like just such a good like first true boss where it's also I think some of the best bosses are the one-on-one like the true one-on-one fights and he's using all the hunter gimmicks and stuff too. Very cool. The beast form adds a really cool third phase that just turns things even more hectic, destroying gravestones and stuff. Um,
It just sets the tone for the game really well too.
it does, and it
You have
really
like,
does with I think that first intro cutscene where he's going beast all over the shop and stuff
oh,
like that.
you voiced Father
I
Gascoigne?
did voice Father Gascoigne. Yeah, I was in the
I
studio.
had no idea. I skipped the credits.
Yeah, and I did that part where he goes, "You'll be one of them, sooner or later." That
I
was me.
remember that part.
That was me. I did Father Gascoigne, and then I did that big. You know where he does the breath? He looks at you, kind of, and then he does that airy breath where.
I remember a classic line that they handed you the script and it was just in big asterisks, breathe.
Yeah, I did the breath and stuff, and I executed it perfectly. Yeah, I actually when I came into the session was wearing the exact outfit of Father Gascoigne. I did
Yeah, it came
everything.
prepared.
Yeah, I came prepared, and that's why Father Gascoigne.
I
Is
believe
A
they
tier.
call that method acting.
It is method acting. That is an A tier fight.
I believe you actually turned into a werewolf and started assaulting the studio staff.
I did do that as well. Can't blame me. Method acting. Know how it is. Very
Um,
specific, but A
see,
tier.
I'm
Ooh,
trying to.
you gotta think. S
Well, I'm
tier?
trying to
Are you thinking?
think. Well, no, I'm debating top of B or A because depending on where other bosses fall and how
We
this
can
fills out.
we can look back.
True.
We can
Yeah,
look
I
back.
think
But
A is a good starting point for him.
yeah, I think A is a very solid area to put him. I'm assuming the next boss we hit is Witches of Hemwick.
Easy B tier.
There's no way I'm putting it in B tier. I cannot physically put it in B tier. Just give me your. I need the reasoning, but behind
No,
B
if you
tier.
have zero insight, it can't damage you.
It's an interesting concept. It's
Isn't it?
interesting. It is. It's not a
Did
good.
you know that they're invisible?
It's not a good. It's a fine encounter, but it's not a good fight. What are you fighting? You're not even fighting.
Fighting the Witch of Hemwick.
You're not fighting the Witch of Hemwick.
And you see the health bar pop up, and you're like, oh, is this guy the Witch of Hemwick? But no, that was a trick. You fell for it.
You know what the fight is? The fight is you are like walking along the street IRL, and there's like someone, and you're like trying to find someone, like you're trying to find a friend or something, in like a busy area, you're not familiar with it really, and there's like someone behind you that's like kind of sketching you out. They're like kind of walking in the same direction. You're like, oh God, is that guy coming after me? Is that? And that's the fight.
And then he ends up just like taking a different turn.
Yeah,
and
he takes a
you
different
move on
turn,
with your life.
and nothing happens. That's the fight. The fight is literally you are in a room with you're trying to find your friend. I'm calling the witches your friends. I think that they are very friendly.
Oh yeah, we go way back.
Then we do go way back. Um,
Okay, you've convinced me that maybe it's not a B tier candidate. I say
am
C
willing
tier.
to put it in D tier. I will put it
Fine.
in C tier. No, I'll put it in C tier. I'll put it in C tier for now. I think this is absolutely the case that if anybody watches this, they will wholeheartedly disagree and say that it is a D tier fight. I'm thinking of it as fight. I think we are
Gentlemen of fine taste
you're
may come in and realize the true genius going on in the Witch of Hemwick boss fight. But for now, it's fine.
it's
I will concede this point.
It's something. It's okay. I have to think more on it. Bloodstarved Beast. I don't love Bloodstarved Beast much at all.
I'm gonna say he's kind of forgettable for me.
I
He
do
kind of
forget.
feels like one of the plain beasts, but like given a bigger health pool.
I was about to go to Vicar Amelia because I forgot that Bloodstarved Beast was on it, and also in the DLC they reused Bloodstarved Beast as a just regular enemy, which makes it even more like the
Forget that they did that, but it makes total sense that they did. That's what it feels like.
it does. Hard boss, not like an easy boss, not a pushover, with the poison and stuff. But then again, it's like, do I even want there to be poison? The fact that the poison is like it.
He
I've,
just couldn't help himself. He had to make it deal poison
he,
damage.
Miyazaki was he, he struggles to restrain himself sometimes, and Bloodstarved Beast was one of the scenarios. Cool that they put what is it? The antidotes in the back of the arena to help you out.
Oh, I forgot about that. That is cool.
Cool
I like
little
that.
yeah, a cool little bit to help you out. Little bit, little funny, little funny goof to help you out in there. But I don't know. The poison is it's just kind of annoying. Um, it should be annoying. Obviously, it should be annoying, but
I don't know. I feel like his biggest crime is that I just forget about him. Like
I
he
do
doesn't
agree.
really do anything that makes you say like, "Oh yeah, Bloodstar's Beast. That was cool." It's kind of just like, "Oh,
I
that
think he's
that
just
happened."
mid. And
Yeah,
honestly, if
I
I
would
was,
say he's probably a good rep for C tier.
I do agree. And you want to be honest? If I'm gonna be honest, I think I don't like Bloodstarved Beast as much as I like Witches because I
Oh,
remember Witches.
see, that's what I'm saying.
Witches made me remember them because
You
of their
remember it?
dumb gimmick. Their gimmick was so stupid that it made me remember them. While Bloodstarved Beast was just there and annoying, I mean, not really hard, just existing.
Yeah, I
um,
think that's fair.
Vicar Amelia, right? I think
I
that's the
think so.
next one. Uh,
I don't like Vicar Amelia.
I'm mid on Vicar Amelia because I think you come in, the intro's kind of cool. It's a little like you're like, oh, slow down there, bud. You don't have to go all beast mode on us.
You don't have to
Um,
go beast on me.
yeah, no need. But Vicar Amelia isn't doing anything crazy. I think it's just a fine beast boss.
I think I have bad memories with Vicar Amelia. So
How
I
so?
started with the threaded cane on my first playthrough since I thought it looked cool. And the threaded cane does a grand total of 0 damage until your skill is like level 90.
Ah,
And so
quite the issue.
Vicar Amelia was like the first time in a Souls game where I felt a difficulty spike felt legitimately unfair because I just could not damage her. Since I also did not find Bloodstar Beast or the Witches, so I just went straight to Vicar Amelia and I was doing
Oh,
no damage.
yeah. For
So
me,
I think I just have a sour taste for it.
that's fair. I think for me, I came in usually with fairly good weapons. I think I've never used the threaded cane. I've only used the axe and saw cleaver or Ludwig's holy
That
blade.
threaded cane, the best way to use it is to start with the saw cleaver and then buy it later when you have enough high
Mm,
enough skill.
yep. I think maybe it's a case of using like I guess I think it's just like a fine fight.
Yeah,
Like it's not any
I,
highlight. It's not anything exciting. To me, I think it's better than Witches, but I don't think it's a Cleric Beast. I don't think it solidifies itself in my mind as much as Cleric Beast. But you might disagree.
no, I would agree with that. I would probably, I mean, I would put it below Witches. However, I do concede that you can place it above Witches.
I'm gonna place it above Witches, but I don't care for the fight. I don't I don't get excited when fighting Vicar Amelia. For me, usually at this point, honestly, it's like I feel like Vicar Amelia is pretty easy. Like it's like almost like a punching bag. You just come in and beat on her and then
Depending
leave.
on what order you do things, yeah.
I think that's
I
probably
think
the
you start with
case.
the saw cleaver.
Wait, Witches is not in this order. Witches is not in this order at all. You do Vicar Amelia and then you do Witches. That's my
Right?
bad.
Yeah, yeah, since you go to the, oh man, I can't believe You didn't say anything.
Wow.
I was testing you this whole time to see if you point that out.
Ah, I screwed up really badly right there. And so then you head back to the woods and you go
Shadows
to
of
the Shadows of
Yarnum.
Yharnam. I believe gank fights are one of the most controversial things in all of the Souls series because they can either be really good or really bad. I don't think there's any middle ground when it comes to
Dun, 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 dun.
yeah, it's and Elden Ring proves that
Uh,
gank
can you
fights
can I
really
please have a
suck.
gif of the spearman going inserted here?
That should be the case. But yeah, I think Shadows of Yharnam are the only time where I think a gank fight I have felt fine on. I felt that they're good. I say
I
like,
actually kind of like the Shadows of Yarnum.
yeah. Well, I
Since
don't
like
love
they're
them.
all smaller enemies, so it's like you can stun them effectively in the gank fight,
Yes.
which helps a lot. And
But
I really like their setup where it's like you're just wandering through the woods and you find these guys. And as far as I know, there's no real lore behind them. They're just kind of there.
yeah. Well, I think the only downside is that a lot of the fight you feel like you're kiting them. You're kiting them
You
until
are.
you get to a point where you can land a hit or two, which I mean a lot of the case of gank fights is spacing. The whole point of gank fights is usually spacing. But for Shadows of like I think it's done very well. They do complement each other well.
Yeah, that
Um,
one big rock in the arena.
Yeah, exactly. The
Like
arena is well
around.
laid out for it. The arena's done very well for it. But I think I don't think it's an extremely I don't love the fight, but I think I like the fight. I like the fight
I'm in the same point.
to
I was gonna say top of C, but like, what else is gonna be in
No, I think
B?
I'd put it top of B.
Top of B.
I think I'd put it above Cleric Beast to be honest.
Oh. Hmm.
I know I'm
Hmm.
sounding a little cynical with the fight, but I think
Why
that
not?
it's my take is that it's a good fight that's just a little it's never quite gank fights are hard or not gank fights are hard but they're hard to execute properly and it's another case of you're wandering around the arena like trying to just make space.
Yeah. Well,
um,
it's like it's more so it like tests your management skills more than your combat skills, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
which is fine but I also think in Bloodborne a lot of Bloodborne is about aggression.
It
It's about
is. I
being
don't think it's bad to have a couple of bosses though that
no I
change things
agree.
up.
There
Yeah,
should
so
be some
yeah,
gimmick
let's
bosses. I
throw them
think
in B.
top. I'm gonna put him top of B for right now. Why does he not want to go top of B? Okay, top of B.
And
Um,
after that, is that Rom already? Am I
that is
remembering right?
Rom. That is Rom. Um,
I
Rom's
mean,
weird.
Rom's just great as like a man. I sure do love this like gothic horror game that's all about werewolves, and then it's like, psych, we're doing Lovecraft now, and I was totally on board.
I was on board too. I think a lot of people might not like Rom, but first of all, one of my favorite areas in the game is the college. The college is so cool, and then you get to
Or if
the
I like
end.
playing through it, but visually, it's just such a cool
Well,
setting.
yeah, it's small, but then you get to like Master Willem, and right,
He
that's his
says
name.
his famous line, "Oh,
You did the voice acting?
I did."
Yeah. And then you jump into a lake, and it's a massive lake of like, it's such a cool concept.
Also, the post Rom cutscene. I'm not sure if that even counts as part of the fight, but that's quite good.
Very cool. It feels
There's
like
a
this
lot of very
turning point.
striking visuals in Bloodborne, and that's one of them.
I think this is a case where it's almost like as an encounter. This is where I will give into an as an encounter.
See, you're learning my philosophy
As an
here.
encounter, it is extremely cool. Dare I say S tier encounter.
I do really like how it just comes out of nowhere and completely changes the game.
S tier, or sorry, as a fight,
As a fight, I
it's
would probably put it below
meh.
Gascoigne just for not being great, and like you
Yeah,
got dive
it's
bombing spiders giving you concussions.
yeah, and then you're kind of just running around chaotically, and it's another experience of kiting, and it's not a good experience. Like it's worse than the shadows experience of like kiting enemies around, where you just keep going around
And
and you
a
wait
giant
for them to dive bomb and stuff. It's just boring. And then you also have to watch Rom as he's dropping stuff on you, and you just don't have fun. There's no good windows. It's not fun. And then when you clear out all the spiders, even it's like you almost feel like at that point like you've won the fight, but Rom is like still doing really annoying stuff.
like she rolls on you and kills you
Yeah,
in one hit.
it's all the I think Rom's attacks are very annoying, but as a fight, it's fine. It's fine. I think if it didn't have all the encounter parts to it, it might be C or D. But for me, I want to put it here.
I would probably put it above Shadows just for
I think
kind
above
of
Shadows.
impact of it.
Impact is true. Shadows don't matter. Shadows, you could have them there. You wouldn't even need to have them
Shadows
there.
could canonically just be a bunch of dudes who dressed up in the woods
That
and
is true.
decided to assault passerbys.
You are right.
Actually, I think that might be what they are canonically. I have no evidence to the contrary.
You are very correct. I can't help but agree. Um, and then you go on to fight. I think the one reborn, right? We'll do all the optional bosses later. Where
Yeah, I
one
think
reborn.
so. Man, this game kind of goes faster
It
than I
does go
remember.
fast. There's not a lot of optional bosses, which for me, I think the one reborn has one of the coolest entrances ever.
Is that the one where he comes out of the moon or
Comes
something?
out of the moon. It's all dripping
It's
and
been a while.
gross. Oh my god. Disgusting.
And you're like, what kind of terrifying beast will this be? Oh, it's Tower Knight.
And then there's Tower Knight. He's standing there. And it's the one reborn, and it's visually striking. One of the most striking bosses, period. Um,
I don't know
and
about that. Just
no,
based on the game that he's in, he is striking. I'm just not sure if he's one of the most.
I think he's up there. For me, it's like one of the most like. He's one of the cutscenes I still look back to, like, oh my god, like that's gnarly. That's gross. As he
It is
falls out of the moon.
uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. I think that it is a really cool boss design, but outside of that, there's really not much going
Tower
for him.
Knight. Outside of that,
It is Tower Knight. You go up and kill the people. You come down. And you kind of just beat him up until he stuns.
you take his lunch money and then you go home.
There's not really much to it. I'm feeling it's another C tier.
I don't know. I might put this one in B.
And B, okay.
Yeah, like bottom of B.
Bottom of B, I can feel it. I was thinking top of C,
For
so
the
bottom of B
Bun Reborn.
is one and the same. Okay. Possibly one of the most controversial bosses of all time. Got Mikalash, which is
Is this one of the most controversial bosses of all time?
I think in discussing. I feel very weird about this boss. It's so hard to pin him down.
As someone who just tried to passionately argue to validate the witches of Hemwick, you already know I love Mikalash.
That's the problem. Is I love Mikalash for so many reasons. I love that he just keeps spewing lore bits and stuff, and that he has the most insane voice lines. The whole concept of the fight is running around this madhouse as he's
chasing a weird occultist through his magical maze, and it's wonderful.
It is wonderful. I love the concept of the fight.
I had a great time.
When you are standing next to him, it is the worst thing I've ever experienced. It is awful when you are sitting next to him actually fighting him. When you're chasing him around and he's just going insane and he's a wild man and he's just living his life, I love that. And I tell him, go off, King.
You are
But
valid, King.
you are valid. But when you get into a room with him and you really start to interview him one on one, you get to know him. You realize
Start to realize that some of these ideas weren't ironic, and that he actually believes this.
he's a little cringe. He's a little cringe.
Well, no, he's still undeniably based, but he might be a little too based.
He's gone a little too far. He's gone a little over the edge. I mean, it's hard to deny the fact that what's the one move? Is it Call from Beyond?
Is that the tentacle one?
No, not the tentacle. Is it tentacle? I think
that's the one I remember him doing all the time.
there is the tentacle one, but I think that's like Azure of something. Augur of Ebriatus. That's the tentacles. A call beyond. That is the.
Or some say Cosm.
Exactly. A call beyond is the thing where he claps his hands over his head and all the little spells come out, and that has a chance to one shot you, and it feels completely random.
Just don't get hit by it.
You're right. I should have realized. Mikalash is. It's a case of S tier encounter, F tier fight.
I wouldn't say F tier fight. I would put Mikalash in A if I were in control of the castle here.
Mikalash is cooler than Rom. But I can't put him at A because it is such a... When you are fighting him, when it is a fight, it is a really bad fight. Like, it's a really, really bad fight.
The dude.
The way I fight Mikalash at this point is I don't enter the last room. I stand on the balcony and throw poison knives at him, so I don't have to fight him. I want to hear his insane ramblings, and I don't want to fight him.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem.
Maybe it is. Mikalash
I want to sit down and have a nice chat with him.
For me, Mikalash
I think he has some ideas, that guy.
S tier encounter, F tier fight for me. If I had to put it in an area, I think I'd put it right here. Maybe, but I see what you mean. Well, I could be persuaded to put it almost anywhere because I think his encounter concepts are so cool that I just love him so much. I love him so much.
He's great. Everyone loves Mikalash. He's well liked by all.
Murgo's Wet Nurse is another example of just like a fine fight. It feels like a case of like she hits, you hit type thing.
I am very partial to Murgo's Wet Nurse because I think the scene around it is one of the coolest things I've ever played in a game.
It is. I mean, you
just
got
like the imagery of like you're walking up the stairs and you just have Yarnum there with like
looking up,
her stomach covered in blood, and you're like, "What's going on here?" And she just points, and you get there in that empty baby carriage, and it's wonderful.
You got the baby music playing too, and then the baby cries at the end. Takes a minute for it to come up to say Nightmare
Slain. That's one of
those
most. That's true. That too. But it's one of those things where it's like that Souls is so good at, where it's I don't know exactly what story you're telling me, but I get the idea, and like putting the pieces together myself there, even if they're not exactly right, is so fun.
It is. I agree. I just think that the fight is it's another example of encounter versus fight where I think
I'm not even rating the fight here. I'm just rating the lead up.
You are right. It is very good. I think the fight is strictly mid. I enjoy it. I don't harbor any hatred towards it. I liked it. It's like another B. It feels like another B. I'd put it.
Another one I would put in A personally, but
in A.
I see where you're coming from.
I think I'll put it here. Is that fair?
I can respect that.
We got a lot of Bs right now. I have a feeling some other ones are gonna come in soon. Um, okay, heavy hitter now. Gearman
Gearman's
is Gearman is S tier by far. Just
Gearman's just a action game rival battle, and I love it.
Gearman, the just the first cutscene where it just goes back and says, "And tonight, Gearman joins the hunt." It is so cool. It is so cool, and his varied move set is cool. The arena,
Cut to black. Gearman joins the hunt.
oh,
Just you cut
it's
back.
so
Boss fight
cool.
begin. You're in this field of flowers with the giant blood moon above you, which is such a great contrast.
It is so beautiful, and it's in the hub world too. The
Uh,
hub world is like
any like final or almost final boss fight that takes place in the hub world gets an automatic bonus 10 points on your
it
report
does.
card.
It does get a bonus 10 points. Not to mention top 10, dare I say top 5 OST, like top 5 song in any Souls game.
To listen to it again, but I'll take your word for it.
It is easily one of the best songs I have heard in like all of games. I think it is a beautiful, beautiful song, and it's just with one of the fastest, most intense fights ever. And it's sad, and it has the lore. Anybody, even if you're just playing the game, like, and you don't follow the lore, you can understand what is going on here.
Yeah, Garamond's
It's
just such a great character. It's like you get this sense that he does not want to be here.
yeah, it's
And but like also just the title, like the first hunter, that's one of those things where it's
yeah.
like even if I was not paying attention throughout all of the game, I know this guy's a big deal just by his boss subtitle.
Exactly. And the fact that he gets out of a wheelchair and just starts pulling off the most insane
You
combos
idiot!
on you ever.
I was able-bodied the whole time.
I think that he is one of the best bosses in any Souls game ever. It is
I do
just
love
so
him.
stunning. Um,
He hits a lot of notes for me. He's a good example of the encounter and the fight is great.
exactly. Exactly. Um, I guess we've probably set our part on that one. I guess it's now time to go into Moon Presence.
Moon
Which,
Presence is fine, but the fact that like replaces Gehrman as the final boss and the true ending kind of takes points away from it, since it is not as good as him.
it does cool intro. Just
I love its design. I
you
think it looks
it
great.
looks cool, but I think the problem is you just kind of like fight it. After fighting Gearman, especially, you fight it and you're like, that's not a final boss.
Fight is definitely it feels messy.
Like it's like that's a dumb boss. And I think because of like all the bad parts of it, it like takes away so much from the game that I almost want to put in D tier.
Wow, I wouldn't say that, but I
I
guess I see where you're coming from. The fact that it kind of flounders at the last minute,
yeah, it
get like negative points.
in a way. I mean,
I think
is
in a vacuum, I would probably put it in like high C, low B, but I see where you're coming from.
I think like right around here. It's like a good fight, really cool design, like looks super cool cutscene. Just
Yeah,
really
definitely. It,
annoying
it
in a way.
inherits Gehrman's cool arena, so we can keep that going for it.
Yeah, just doesn't really do anything. It doesn't push the game forward like Gearman does.
It's like there's two ways to do a final boss, right? You can do like something like Gwyn, where it's more of like a story beat,
Mm-hmm.
and like the fight's not great, but again, I only have a limited vocabulary here. It's a really good encounter. Or you can do a final boss like what's a better example? Soul of Cinder, kind of, where this is a bad example since I also really like Soul of Cinder from a story perspective, but
I do
where
too.
it's more so about the fight. Moon Presence kind of like flounders both, where it's like he
Yeah,
tries to be a real boss fight but fails, but then that takes away from any potential he had as like a gimmick storytelling boss fight.
yeah. I think yeah. It's just it's mid. It 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 exists. It's exciting to see.
Sitting there.
It's sitting there. It's fine. That's the case. It's fine. Maybe we just go along now through the rest of the list, going along the way.
Oh, Amygdala.
Amygdala is.
I don't remember Amygdala
I
like as
hate.
a fight.
I don't like Amygdala.
Amygdala, like you had to hit its head, right? And you couldn't hit its
Yeah,
head.
and you couldn't. And it
I,
just.
I Oh, and there was like a ton in the Chalice dungeons. I remember Amygdala now. Amygdala is C tier, maybe even D.
I'm gonna put Amygdala. I don't think there's much to say with Amygdala. It does
It's
it's cool seeing them on buildings,
I do love seeing them on buildings. I
but
just
that's
wish
not.
they
I don't
stayed up
really
there.
think that adds to the boss. Like I don't think I can give that any points for it being a boss. I feel like the Amygdala boss is separate almost because you fight it in the nightmare area, and there's no other Amygdalas in there. It's like if you were walking along, if you were fighting it in what's the name of the place? What's the name of the city where it's all the Amygdalas that you're walking along?
What is it called?
I completely forget.
It's the place the kidnappers take you, right? It's like
Yeah,
your Gabol or something. That's not what it's
Yarhar
called.
Ghul.
Yarhargul, that's what it's called.
Yeah. If it was in there, I'd be like, alright, I'm seeing a bunch of these Amygdalas. It's just like you fight in the Nightmare Realm, and then there it is, and it's like, okay. Cool cutscene, though, when you're taken to the Nightmare Realm, and it just goes, oh, Amygdala, Amygdala, have mercy on the poor bastard. That's
Oh,
a cool bit.
Amygdala.
I like that. But,
But then you fight him and it's like, can I go home now?
yeah, I don't want to fight him. I never want to fight him. It is the worst. Yeah. And then we also have now Dark Beast Parl, which is just
Arl.
I think it's I think it falls into the same trap as Bloodstarved Beast. It's just forgettable.
See, I remember Parl because like he has a skeleton face and shoots electricity. I would put him
Yeah.
next to Vicar Amelia as kind of mechanically boring beast boss that
Okay.
like doesn't do anything special but is fine.
Yeah, it's a DPS test, and it's the camera's horrible.
I mean that's a running theme though.
That is the case. There's always got to be a DPS test. It's fine. It's fine. That's it's
I
it's
don't have much to
good.
say
It's
about it. I think he
okay.
looked really cool from a visual
Yeah,
standpoint.
visually it's cool. You
But
see
like
him before you walk into the arena, like, oh god, I don't want to mess with that guy. But you're gonna be going
his
over to it.
name is Parl, which kind of sounds like Carl, which makes me snicker
Does
because that's
sound
a
like
regular
Carl.
name.
I also I like how we're gonna end on celestial. This
Well,
is
you know what they say, save the best for last.
I'm putting it over here now so that we can talk about it earlier because I think this is probably a better area to end.
I don't know how you could possibly come to that conclusion.
Yeah, no, this is stupid of me. Okay, Ebriatus.
Ebriatus. I forget a lot about Ebriatus. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, she was one of like the elder ones that got
Yes,
left
the great
behind,
ones.
right?
Yes, exactly, and they kept her or her whatever gender. I'm not gonna go into that.
Oh, we're going into it.
We're going into it, baby, to sap them of
I'm
their
feeling
blood.
controversial.
Or just to sap them of the blood. They kept them in the bottom of that like cathedral.
Right.
Um,
So I do like that idea of just there's something I have like a preference for when you can string words together in a way that's very evocative, such as like I was talking about earlier, Gearman. You know, like he's a big deal just from his title, like the first hunter. You
mhm.
hear that and you're like, oh, I know what that means,
Yeah.
even if I don't know what that means.
Yep.
And the great one who was left behind has that same energy.
Exactly.
Where it's
And
like, I don't really know what you're talking about, but deep down, I know what you're talking about
yeah. And I
on
think
like a bigger level.
too, there's a lot of things that I love the way you get her, the way the arena is beautiful, the design of the boss is so visually like, oh my god, like I love those bosses where you just go like, oh my god, that is weird. Like you like how did they come up with this?
It does feel like very
How did they
appropriately
yeah,
Lovecraftian.
how did they come up with this boss?
Like compared to some of the other ones, like of the other great ones, like Moon Presence. He looks great, but like he has like a very coherent form, and like I can
Very.
tell what that is.
Yup.
And it's like Murgo's wet nurse. It's like creepy, but it's like that's just like an invisible thing, and it has like raven wings, and this is
Yeah.
made from things that I can recognize. Whereas Ebrietas is like, what is that?
Yeah. It's spaghetti face something. I and the fight's one of the hardest in vanilla Bloodborne.
All I remember is she had a big face slam that did a lot of
Did have a
damage.
face slam. She had a spectral field in the second phase where if you walked into it, you would start taking damage.
This is a fight I would need to replay to comment on mechanically, just since it's been so
That's
long.
fair. For me, I know where I'd put it. And I know I put it. Take a guess, actually. Where would I put it?
I think you would put it in A tier,
I'm putting it in A tier above Gearman.
above
Oh,
Gascoigne.
sorry, Gascoigne. that's Gascoigne. I think
And I
everyone else
agree with you because we don't have enough bosses in A tier right now.
is. Either way, I'd either put it here or here. No matter what, I'm putting it in A. I know it's not S. It's not quite S because it's a little annoying, but very very good boss. Um, I want to hear what you just tell me what you're thinking on Celestial Emissaries.
Don't worry, you don't have to get the torches out right away. I'm not the biggest fan of Celestial Emissaries, mostly because although I do like his gimmick, it's kind of inconsequential. Where it's like by the time you figure it out, you probably finish the fight anyway, just through happenstance.
Yup.
It's like,
But
oh, I was supposed to hit a specific one, and it's like, well, I was just gonna hit them all anyway.
that's true. That is true. You do just happen to beat it. But I prefer it over witches.
Fair enough.
I think I'm gonna keep though with what you're
I
saying.
I do like their look though because
They
it's
are
like
funny.
everything in Bloodborne is like we got these horrific beasts that are like very animalistic and like kind of natural fears versus the great ones which are very supernatural and out of this world, and then you have these guys who are just so hokey that you can't help but love them.
They're your traditional little aliens that come in. I think it is a case. I think it's just like your D tier. Like you fight them, you go like whatever. You laugh at them. It's funny.
Have a good time
You get a
and move
little
on.
chuckle. But yeah, I think it's just your D tier where you have a good time and it's whatever. Um, Lady Maria, we're gonna have a bit of a
I think we're gonna
controversy
have a
with
fight
this.
on this one.
You have to admit it's A tier.
I will concede that. The thing about my problem with Lady Maria is that she's in a game with both Gearman and the Orphan, which I think everything she tries to do is done better by those two.
I mean, maybe, but I think like the lead up, like if we're just looking on, think of it also in your encounter mindset, where the whole area before it is all dedicated to this concept of Maria. Like Maria is the caretaker of this hospital, right? Am I
What a nice lady she must be.
exactly? What did I say? It's like this whole area. There, like the people are asking for Maria, and so like you get all this lore stuff coming from the area beforehand, and the hospital is one of the coolest areas in the game, I think, in my opinion. Other than like the fishing hamlet, it is so cool, and it's got
I
such winding
like the
paths.
hospital. I don't think it's one of my favorite areas though.
I think it's up there. It's among like Canehurst and the
I
fishing
mean,
hamlet.
but we'll get to Canehurst, but
We'll get to Canehurst, but I mean,
for now, I would agree with you that she's at least A tier. I think she's a very good fight. Like I said, she gets overshadowed by her competition for me.
okay,
Where it's like I don't think about her much when I think of like, oh, who's the best boss in Bloodborne?
yeah, okay. I still consider her in it. I consider her among those other two, and I think it's also like the lore prospect of like that she succumbs to this fighting style that she had like given away. She had thrown her sword down in the well to never like use the blood arts again. And like she uses it against you just to try to win and
That
prevail.
cool.
It's I think it's really cool the way
I
that
forgot about that bit though. That their sword was in the well. That does give her bonus points.
it does give her bonus points. Hey, I'll put her at the top of A tier, I think.
I can respect that placement.
I think Maria is super cool. For me personally, it would be S, but I think just a really, really cool fight. Awesome, deserving of A.
It's fair.
This is an F tier.
Lawrence of
This
Arabia.
is an F tier. This is the F tier fight of everything.
But hold on. Consider though,
Kids,
he is kind of molten.
did you ever beat Lawrence?
I did not. I like gave Lawrence a couple of tries and said, you know what? I have better things to do with my time than get stun locked by dripping lava.
Reskin, yeah, dripping lava just has absurd damage. You can lock him into doing the same attack over and over again if you run corner to corner. It is such a stupid, horrible fight. It can be made to be the easiest fight, but it's just horribly designed. And you wonder why. Lawrence, couldn't you give him his own skin, like his own look? You gotta give him Cleric Beast. The first
He does
boss?
look pretty cool. You know, the fire cleric beast, like it's a
kinda
step up
cool.
from Blue Smelter Demon.
Listen, you could have put Lawrence in as like the equivalent of what is it? What's the first boss you fight in Dark Souls 1, the DLC? The Guardian
Sanctuary Guardian?
Sanctuary Guardian. That would be the equivalent of Sanctuary Guardian. It's like this no-named, random, no lore type thing that you just fight and you're like, oh, that was Cleric Beast. But
it's called Fire Cleric Beast.
yeah, it's like, okay, that was
Called
funny.
Cleric Beast.
Yeah. It's like, hey, that's funny. But this is like
A good joke.
this is like one of the most important characters in the
It
game.
really is just a storm of like this guy was like teased so much. He's so important in like the whole narrative. And then it's like he's a reskin and his fight is really annoying and kind of boring.
Yeah. It's a
like,
whole
like
storm
good
of
job, I
garbage.
guess.
It's really bad. It's really not good.
He's also like the only bad part of what I would consider one of the best DLCs in the
It's
franchise.
definitely one of the best DLCs. Period. I look back on it. I'm like, first of all, one of the most. It has like the most bosses too, and it has some of the most banger bosses. Period.
They're all bangers except for Lawrence over here.
Except for Lawrence, and we got coming up.
I forgot.
You forget every time about the living failures, but the thing is, I don't hate the
they're not
living
bad.
failures. They're not bad. They just like
I legitimately forgot they existed.
they allegedly exist. They're there. I think their
I've been
design is
told
kind of cool.
rare sightings by travelers in the woods have told me that there is in fact an additional boss in the Old Hunters DLC, but I'm not sure I believe them.
Did they say the name of it?
I think they did. It's called the Living Failures.
The living failures.
They take pictures, but the film grain is kind of bad, and I'm pretty sure it's a guy in a costume.
My take on the living failures is that the concept of it is kind of cool. These are they are failures. They are losers.
Wow, he's just like me.
Play the lightning. They should kill themselves.
Now. I mean that with 100%, with 1,000%.
They're there. They're there. I think I think the whole concept's kind of cool. I mean, they're living like they are failed experiments, and their heads are all caved in. It's kind of crazy, but other than that, there's just nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like probably
going there.
I think they get to C tier.
They get to C tier. I think. Like, okay, I prefer to fight it over this.
I mean, to be fair, I think
this.
you made the exact same argument for them as the Bloodstarved Beast, plus like a little bit of lore credit.
A little bit of lore credit. Right there, I think maybe. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like a really bad picture of Parl. I keep looking at him saying, "What is that?"
I know it's a really bad picture of Parl. We're gonna have a fun end, but Martyr Longarius.
Fire
Uh,
Longaria. See, this is tricky
it is
because
tricky.
in a vacuum, I don't love him. Like he's fine, but he's the boss of Canehurst Castle, which is my jam.
Canehurst
So
is
he gets
the
a ton of bonus
best
points.
area in the game. I mean, I wouldn't even say in the vacuum he's okay. He's good. He's
Oh
really
no,
good.
he's good. He's just I
Like
don't
in a
think he does
vacuum,
anything too special.
I think the best way to put it is in a vacuum he's B, but coming from Canehurst, he's A easily.
It's like I would play an entire game that just takes place in Canehurst.
Oh, it's
So
beautiful.
it puts me in a good mood. So I'm
It
always in a
does.
good mood when I'm fighting
I
Langarius.
don't really think there's much to say about him. He's just like
Yeah,
a really
that's the thing.
cool, good
Like he's
optional
solid,
boss.
and it's like he's a fine fight that's really elevated by the area around him.
Yeah, I think right around here, right there,
I'd probably put him bottom of A.
bottom of
I
A.
think
Sure, I'll do
I think
that.
technically speaking, like putting my biases aside, Gascoigne is probably the better fight. But man, Canehurst is really cool looking.
Yeah, I agree. Now the big question is, above or below?
I would probably put him above Lawrence.
Above. Yeah, I am agreeing 100%. Um, this is such a cool fight. This is
Um,
just like a
so
highlight.
I'm pretty sure we're in agreement that just the rest of this goes into S tier.
Yes,
But
they
and
do,
how to
but I'm
order
gonna
it.
wait. Oh shoot, I gotta put him in S tier too. Yeah, you
We'll
gotta
get there,
gotta
we'll get
figure out
there.
how to order it. But
Ordering it is really difficult.
okay, for Ludwig, I
They
think
changed his name in the middle of the fight, so he's the best boss in the game.
I know you love that.
I'm
You
a simple
love
man
that.
to please.
I think he has the second coolest arena. Um, just like a
Compared to
whole
who? Who's number one?
orphan.
Okay. I think Gearman's arena is probably.
Oh, you're right. Never mind. You're right. Okay, I take it back.
I thought that's who
I
you're
think
talking about. I was gonna say I thought Orphan's arena was cooler.
I
But,
think those
we'll
three
get
have
there. We'll get
really
there.
cool. Okay, but anyway, Ludwig's arena is like it's just like a pool of blood with all these dead bodies, and the way it's introduced too with this like shriveled dead dude going like oh, beware, like he's coming, and it's just the introduction is you're just showed this gnarly, like gross, horrible, like defiled
Also, he
thing.
really like breaks a ton of new design space wide open when they made him a horse.
Yeah, he's torrent.
He is.
Can I
He's
ride
smart. This is
Ludwig?
him.
I prefer to ride Ludwig around Elden Ring.
It's one of those simple things where it's like, man, he's a horse. I mean, I guess symbolically speaking, it's like where you have most of the beasts like dogs and they're like wild animals. The horse is a bit more
Yeah.
domestic, and it has like kind of the knight
Oh, I didn't
allegory to
even think
go with
about
it.
that.
I may be overthinking things here, but I
It's
like
just
this
so
boss, so
much.
I'll give him dumb credit that I
Yeah.
make up.
It's just so many like it's just looking at it. There's so many design things with the eyes, and it's like and that weird looking like pulsating. Oh, it's almost like a mouth type thing. And then there's like another like hoof coming off of him that's like doesn't even have any purpose. It's just like it's there. And you're like, this is so gross, but it's so cool. And it's also the fact that like this gross, insane abomination has humanity to it and is able to like fight like a human.
He goes, "My guiding moonlight."
And it gives you the coolest sword. The fact that he has the
and,
coolest
and
sword
the
tied to him.
name changes, and he stands. They sell that transition so well,
Oh, they
where
do.
it's just like, man, this is just something completely else now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just like he has this last bit of humanity. It's insane too
It
that like
really is like this. It's if I go on a side tangent for a moment here,
yeah.
there's a very niche genre that is my absolute jam, which I have personally dubbed as optimistic horror, where
Mhm.
it's like the setting is very much a horror setting, and so is the story, but it usually leads to either a weirdly happy ending or has some very hopeful twinges to it. And I think Ludwig very fits snugly in there, where it's like he's been like completely reduced to this horrifying beast, but man, he was just such a cool person that he can remain that way even in this curse.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like I feel
And
like it's the flip side of Maria in a way. Like Maria succumbs to this like horrible thing that she sworn away, while Ludwig like regains this humanity that he had lost.
I did not think of that, but that is true.
It's just a really cool concept. I think it's
It's
so
something
cool.
about like the knight that is so just and so honorable that even in the face of absolute decay, like he's gonna keep on going.
Yeah,
It's a very like timeless notion that it feels good.
it does feel good. And talking to him after too, and it's like he still has his humanity as you're like talking to his severed head.
That's all it
That's
takes.
that's all
Let
it
this
takes.
be a lesson.
There's so much good about this
And
fight. There is.
I mean, technically, yeah. I don't think they thought to it this far ahead, but there were a couple of saints that were depicted as being decapitated, and they kept going.
Really?
Yeah.
Or you know. Um, I guess okay. Down to the last one is Orphan. I think Ludwig is above Gearman. That's my take. Do you agree?
They're very close for me, where I can't even really say. I think I might put Gearman ahead just for the finality of it,
Okay.
where I
I
think
that's
he's a
fine.
very good capstone to the game.
I could be. You could argue me either way, and I'd be more than happy. I'm just more than happy to put all these at S. They all belong up here. I think the big question though is Orphan, because
Orphan is my I know I gave Martyr his spot because I said his setting was so cool. Orphan's the fishing hamlet is my favorite setting in this game.
it is so cool. It's the fact that when you first have you ever looked down over the after you walk out of the clock tower and you look over the ledge, you can see Yarnum below you.
Yeah,
That is so cool of a concept. Like that is just it's like mind blowing that you're in this fishing hamlet in the sky. It's so cool. And it's just like has the coolest enemies and stuff. But besides that, just the arena that you fight Orphan in.
it's so good. It's
It's
like, man, I've been here. I'm pretty sure you live there.
yeah. It's like it's sprawling too. Like it feels they make it feel endless by the way you can fight him. Like you could just
Yeah.
keep going out into the water and it feels like it never ends. And
I think it's a really interesting point when like he's so small of a boss compared to most bosses,
mhm,
and they give him this huge arena for you to play with.
yeah. And just the move set is so varied. The I'm going to be honest. I love the second phase. I really like the second phase, but I find the second phase to be easier than the first. I found the first phase
In
to
a
always
while.
be very
So
hard
I
for me.
don't remember, but from what I remember, I think I agree with you.
Like for me, the second phase, he has moves where you could just stick to his side and keep hitting. But like, I mean, he'll move. The thing is, he's just like moving. He is the definition of speed,
Moving and grooving.
and none of it's unfair. Like all of it is
No,
like it's on you.
he's a very solid fight. He's like mechanically probably my favorite fight in the game, where it's just like
Yeah,
he puts your ability with the mechanics at hand to the best test possible while not doing anything unfair. It's
exactly.
purely just like, hey, how good are you at this game?
It is. How much have you learned? And then it hits you with the poem at the end. Like,
Completely shattering all like context and just having a narrator jump in to recite a poem is my
oh,
favorite thing this game did.
so good. It's
A
like the
bottomless
orphanage.
curse, a
Yeah,
bottomless sea, accepting of all that there is and can be. as your dude just looks out into the ocean. And it's like, man, that was awesome.
That it really is. It's just such a great way to end a DLC.
Again, I think this entire S tier is peak great encounter and great fight. Like
Yeah,
I think this was a good exploration into what makes a good Souls boss.
it does. I mean,
The S tier
if you
have
look
all
at
been intersections.
yeah, it's. I mean, it's just for Orphan. It's such a good last fight, and then you fight Lawrence.
Or if you're like me, you don't fight Lawrence.
Yeah, no, but I agree that like the S tier, you can see is just like they are. They have so they're built up. They have so much lore, and then they deliver in their like both their fight and their encounter. They have the coolest arenas, the best like music. Like I totally didn't even mention Ludwig's music is some of the most bumping in the game.
It
It
is.
goes so hard.
Also, the fact that like Mikalash talks about cause in the main game, and then the
Oh,
DLC, like you
exactly.
see it all come together, is awesome.
It's so cool. And oh,
It's one of those things where it's like you got this like faint idea of what was happening beforehand, and now you like they give you the last remaining puzzle pieces to put it all together.
yeah. This like doing this makes me want to go back and play Bloodborne again just to fight these guys. And even all these
And
like
really release Bloodborne on PC. Do it now.
so nice.
I demand it.
Let us there's
Let
got to
us
be
play this
emulators at
game
some
at a
point.
decent frame rate.
Let me play it
That's
60
all I
frames per
want.
second, please. But yeah. Well, thank you for joining me on this
Uh, Happy to be here.
inspection of
I think that went rather well.